There is a bird in your yard right now that has already made a decision about you. Not a dramatic decision, not friendship, not affection. Something much more important in the world of a wild bird: risk. Every time that bird sees you, its brain asks the same question: do I need to leave, or can I stay? Most people assume that decision gets made over and over from scratch, but research suggests something very different. Birds remember, not every detail, not every face, but the experiences that matter. And there is one thing a human can do that changes how a bird remembers them for the rest of that bird's life. To understand why, you have to start with what the bird has already learned. Because by the time you notice a bird at your feeder, the bird has probably noticed you hundreds of times. The cardinal on the fence has watched you leave for work. The chickadee in the maple has heard your voice through open windows. The robin on the lawn has seen you walk the same path through the yard dozens of times. Most people think they are observing birds. The reality is often the opposite. The birds are observing us. Researchers studying backyard birds have discovered that many species build what scientists call risk profiles, a constantly updated assessment of the creatures sharing their environment. Every movement matters. Every sound matters. Every interaction becomes data. The bird does not need to know your name. It does not need to understand human language. It simply needs to answer one question: are you dangerous? Over time, the answer becomes surprisingly specific. A bird may react differently to two humans standing in the same yard. One causes alarm, the other does not. One triggers flight, the other barely interrupts feeding. The bird has learned the difference, and that difference is built through observation. Day after day, month after month, sometimes year after year. This is where many people misunderstand trust. Humans often imagine trust as an emotional bond. Birds experience something closer to prediction. A predictable human becomes a safer human. The person who walks calmly, moves consistently, refills the feeder without chasing birds away, appears at roughly the same times each day. That person becomes easier to understand, and understanding reduces uncertainty. In nature, uncertainty is often what animals fear most. Researchers studying bird behavior repeatedly find the same pattern. Birds tolerate predictable individuals more than unpredictable ones, not because they feel attached, because prediction improves survival. But there is one signal that stands out from all the others, one behavior that many people almost never think about. And when birds experience it repeatedly, something begins to change. Not instantly, not dramatically, but enough that the bird starts treating you differently from everyone else. The signal is surprisingly simple, and the bird notices it almost immediately. Because unlike most humans, birds pay very close attention to where your attention is directed. And that single detail may matter far more than you realize. Because unlike most humans, birds pay very close attention to where your attention is directed. And that single detail may matter far more than you realize. Researchers studying birds have repeatedly found that many species monitor human gaze. Not just whether a person is present, but whether that person is actively paying attention to them. To a bird, there is a huge difference between being looked at and being ignored. Cats stare. Hawks stare. Owls stare. A direct, prolonged gaze often means danger is about to follow. That is why many birds become uncomfortable when people lock eyes with them for too long. But something interesting happens when the interaction is different. Imagine stepping outside to refill your feeder. A cardinal is already waiting nearby. Instead of walking straight past, you pause. You glance toward the bird for a moment. Not a stare, just an acknowledgement. Then you continue what you were doing. To you, the action feels insignificant. To the bird, it is new information. The bird has watched you hundreds of times before. It knows your routine. It expects you to behave a certain way. And suddenly, the pattern changes. Not in a threatening way, in a calm way, a predictable way. The bird notices. Researchers studying long-term bird behavior often describe animals becoming alert whenever something familiar behaves differently. The reaction is immediate. A brief pause, a head tilt, a closer look. Not because the bird suddenly likes you, because it is collecting data, and data is everything. Number 4, your voice becomes part of the bird's memory. Most people think birds only pay attention to visual information. But sound matters just as much. The chickadee in your yard has heard your voice hundreds of times. The robin on your lawn recognizes the sounds coming from your porch. The cardinal near your feeder already knows the rhythm and volume of the humans who live there. Researchers have found that birds can associate specific human voices with specific outcomes. Safe, neutral, dangerous. And over time, those associations become surprisingly reliable. This is why some birds react differently before they even see a person. They hear them first. The sound alone provides information. When people speak softly around birds, the birds are not understanding words. They are evaluating tone, volume, intensity, emotion. To a bird, a calm voice sounds very different from an angry one, and every encounter becomes another piece of the profile they are building about you. Number 5. Small interactions become lifelong memories. This is where the story becomes remarkable. A human may remember a bird for a few minutes. A bird may remember a human for a significant portion of its life. Think about a chickadee that visits your feeder for 2 years. That may be most of its entire existence. A cardinal visiting your yard for 3 years may spend nearly its whole life encountering the same human, the same voice, the same routine, the same patterns, day after day. From the bird's perspective, you are not a random event. You are part of the environment, one of the largest and most consistent features of its world. And every interaction helps shape how that world feels. Safe, stressful, predictable, uncertain. The bird is constantly updating its understanding, constantly learning, constantly remembering. And this leads to the strange truth hidden inside all of this research. Birds do not remember humans because they are trying to form friendships. They remember humans because remembering improves survival. But sometimes, the outcome looks surprisingly similar. The bird stays on the fence instead of flying away, returns to the feeder sooner, sings while you remain nearby, shows less alarm when you appear. The bird is not expressing affection, it is expressing confidence. And confidence is one of the most valuable things a wild animal can possess. The birds in your yard have been studying you for far longer than most people realize. Watching, listening, comparing, learning. And every day, they continue adding new information to the profile they carry in their minds. Which means the next time a familiar bird remains nearby, while you work in the garden or fill the feeder, you may find yourself wondering something difficult to ignore. Did that bird remember you because of something you did today, or because of hundreds of small moments it has been quietly collecting for years?